Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hey everyone, welcome back to J is for Justice. I am your host, Jay, and it's only taken me about 5 years to get my studio together. Are you guys liking the studio? I changed my angle and I got my lighting a little bit better. Give me some thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. I've got Honest Abe. Honest Abe is behind me by the lava lamp, and he's wearing his 2024 North American solar eclipse glasses. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. This is a very special day. It is April Fool's Day. So it's Monday, April the 1st. We got Chad Daybell jury selection going on. We have Nicholas Miu. Do you remember Nicholas Miu? He's the Apple River stabber. We have him getting jury selected as well today. But not only is it April the Fool's Day and Chad's chin got into court 5 minutes before he did. No. We have a very special day today. I have something very, very special to share with my members and my Patreons. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to share it in Discord. We're going to have a special watch party at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. Following the watch party, we're going to hop over here to YouTube and we are going live to celebrate at 10 p.m. with a live stream. So what we're going to do is we're going live at 10 p.m. tonight. We are doing a watch party at 9 p.m. tonight in Discord. If you are not a member, it's not too late. I promise you, it's going to be a fun time tonight. So you can become a member or a Patreon. The mods will let you know how to do that. It's not an April Fool's joke. This is a serious watch party that I'm excited. So I wish I could share more, but I can't. So this is going to be something exciting we share for the first time together. Like, we are just going to pop our cherries tonight. Okay. So we are on the cusp of 99,000 subscribers, 99 bottles of beer on the wall. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. If you're new here, please subscribe and join us on this crazy road to 100K. So thank you all for that. And one other thing I want to say. First, I want to thank Alley Cats. Alley Cat Claus is here. I still have your soundbite, babe. I love you. Thank you so much for your super chat of $10. Thank you so much. Shell supported the stream with $4.99. Thank you so much. I appreciate your super chats. I do. What I challenge you to do is hear me out for 2 minutes before we get into Nina's interview. We're going to watch the clips that Olive Juice put together, a bunch of clips for us. Thank you so much, Olive. But I want to share with you a little website, www.j4j411.live. You can buy merch there, you can tip me there, and you can look at the commands for the chat there. That makes it a little bit more fun. Now, what I challenge you to do, if you're going to send me a super chat, try the 411.live website. And the reason I say that is because YouTube takes a big, huge chunk of all of our super chats, our ad revenues, our memberships, everything that you do through YouTube, they take their cut. So it helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. If you're able to, and you're going to super chat, give it a whirl. If you have a problem with it, we'll help you out. But I really do appreciate it. So with that being said, we're going to talk about Nina today. And Joel Woodup thinks that the ex-wife is fake. And no, I don't think that. Why do you think she's fake? I don't understand why you think she would be fake. I think that we've seen court records with her name on it and Chris Proudfoot's name on it as well. So I don't think she's fake. And this is a reminder, because I just had to remind myself to go on live chat. I know that the team is all here. We've got Shell, Jammers, Olive, Diana is here, and so is Jammers. We are missing our Angie B, though. Where's Angie? Where is Miss Angie today? I hope everything's okay. She is usually here with bells on. Someone can check on Angie. That worries me a little bit. I don't think she's fake either, but we're going to watch this together. Kung Fu Panda, you're waiting for other ones to come out. Me too. So I just want to say, a lot of you guys are saying you think she's bitter. I don't think she's bitter at all. I believe her. But I just want to say, if Nina, if you happen to be listening, I just want to say thank you for having the courage to come forward with your story. It couldn't have been easy. But I think she did it for Sebastian, you guys. I don't think she's doing it for herself, but I think that she's getting the validation that she's never gotten before, except for from her own family. And it's awful that it had to come to Sebastian going missing for, this to come to light. But I think she is very scared. I think she is telling the truth. But you guys be the judge. I'm going to start the video and let's watch this. Olive, again, thank you for putting these clips together. I really do. I admire Nina's courage. It's not easy to go through something like that. These people literally kidnapped her kid. Like, they set it up. Like, they set a plan in motion and tricked her. They tricked her. Let's watch. You guys can be the judge, but let's watch.
Anyways, I guess I wasn't moving fast enough for Christopher, but the baby started crying. Faith started crying. And, she's crying and I'm trying to get to her as fast as I can. And when she was in the car seat, my oldest daughter at the time witnessed this with my 3-year-old son. When she was in the car seat, he ended up hitting the car seat against the wall. And he's getting upset because she's crying. And
Faith
then when she was in her car seat, there was a coffee table right there. And he ended up tossing her on the coffee table with the car seat because he was so irate that she was crying. And I said, hey, what's your problem? I said, what are you doing? Like, she's a baby. She's going to cry. I wish I would have just... I wish I would have never met him. So my name is Nina Gomez, as a lot of you know. I am Faith Proudfoot's mother.
Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Trev Time. This is Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee is an advocate for children that are missing. He's a good soul, Trevor. Trevor has a great soul. And he is the one that, brought Nina on to his platform and literally just let her tell her story. He didn't have to prompt her. He didn't have to say, oh, what about this? He literally just gave her a platform to tell her story. And this is Trevor. So if you guys can please, if you're not already, I'm sure you've seen Trevor, subscribe to his channel. I'm sure the mods have his link. But yeah, give him a subscribe and give him some likes for this because he's very respectful. He's just a really impressive kid. I hate to say kid because I don't want to be disrespectful, but to me, he's a kid and he's a good kid, and we got to recognize good kids when we see them.
Christopher Proudfoot is Faith's father, biologically. I'm here to tell my story of what happened to myself and to my children. So, like I said, my name is Nina. I live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I have 3 amazing children. I met Christopher back when I was 35 years old. I met him on a dating website. Don't know what I was doing there, I guess.
Dating website, she met Chris.
I wish I could take it back. I started talking to him. He was stationed out in San Diego, and we started talking back and forth. Wanted to get to know him a little bit more. I thought he was a great person in the beginning.
They're always great in the beginning, aren't they?
But everybody is always perfect in the beginning, right? We fail to see the red flags, and we fail to notice things that we should in the beginning. So he made a couple of trips out here, asked me to marry him, and I made the mistake by saying I do.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. Chris was stationed in San Diego. He's on a dating site. He meets Nina. You're going to see this trend with Christopher. He meets Nina. He flies out there to Albuquerque a couple times. He schmoozes her. He makes her feel like he is going to be the stepdad of the universe, I'm sure. And after a couple trips, he proposes. And once he's got that ring on that finger, Christopher knows, or we know, what Christopher is going to do next. Control, control, control.
So we got married. Eventually, we moved to San Diego. I had went through a divorce a couple years prior to meeting Christopher. And my first husband was military as well, but I was married to him for 9.5 to 10 years, almost 10 years. We made it. He's the father of my other 2 children. And I told him that, I was remarrying and we were moving to San Diego. And he wasn't really for it. He was kind of against it. Mm-hmm. He's like, how am I going to see my kids? And I said, well, we'll figure it out. So we packed up after we said I do. I don't remember the exact date when I got married to Christopher. And maybe that's a good thing.
Okay. She even put her wedding date out of her head. That's how bad it was. She even doesn't even remember the anniversary date. I have a marriage like that. It would be called my second one. I have no idea when I got married to him. And that's why I believe it. I believe her. And I just want to say, Joel, I know you're doubting it. You're thinking she's exaggerating. Her daughter is still alive, and we have a missing boy who we clearly can see that this man didn't like. So I don't think this is at the point of exaggeration. I think this is at the point of crisis, of crisis level.
We moved into the naval housing out there. And my son, Noah, was 3 at the time.
A baby.
And my oldest was about 7 years old. And she was telling me 7. So I thought everything was great in the beginning. I mean, everything's always perfect, like I said. And then I started seeing bits and pieces of how Christopher really was. I was a stay-at-home wife. Due to my son being so young, I wanted to, enjoy those years with him. Then my daughter went to school right down the street. So I was home every single day. And it just started seeing like Christopher change, like night and day. It was awkward. I felt really uncomfortable. After a while, we would argue about just the smallest things. And a lot of it also had to do with how he disciplined my children.
Here come the stories.
I'm very protective over my kids. And I didn't want somebody else to discipline my children. I didn't want him talking ugly to them, hurting their feelings.
All these are things that we suspected Chris was doing to Sebastian, mocking him. Oh, he's got the goofiest smile. He gets in your personal space. And that kid, he demeans him. He talks down about Sebastian instead of talking about the special things and the strengths that Sebastian had. He talks about the negative things, and you can tell that he picked it apart. True Crime and Other Stuff doesn't remember her anniversary date either for the first one. Telling you. He totally did it on purpose. And he moved Katie from California as well. But he might have found his evil match.
And
she wasn't it.
I remember one point in time where Christopher spanked my son really hard, and I got very upset with him, and I said, you can't do that to my son. I said, he's 3, he's a baby still. Like, you can't just do whatever you want. I mean, and he got upset, and he's like, well, he needs to learn. He needs to man up. He's a man. I said, he's 3. He's 3.
Happy anniversary, Meg.
And as time went on, I could see him getting more aggressive.
So imagine Sebastian being a 15-year-old, a teenager. He's already expecting a 3-year-old boy that's not his to man up. He's 3. 3. Soul Jules, that is so funny. Right? I mean, Chris is indeed a bully who mocks Sebastian. Chris is our sus. There's a lot of Chris's that have been arrested. Yeah, a 3-year-old needs to be a man. That's cool, Lindsay.
And more aggressive. And I stood up for my kids all the time. I didn't like how he talked to them, how he wanted them to stand in the corner all the time. And
look at her face, guys. This is real. That is a look of utter disgust. This woman has probably lived with the guilt that her kids even went through what they did. She has a look of utter disgust. He made a 3-year-old stand in the fucking corner. I mean, this is the devil. A 3-year-old.
I didn't like that. I ended up eventually getting pregnant with Faith. And it was probably, I want to say, maybe early September that I found out that I was pregnant with Faith. And I remember telling him that I was pregnant, and he wasn't happy about it. So I called my parents back home here in Albuquerque, and I told them the situation. And I said, well, Christopher wants me to get an abortion with Faith. And my parents said, no, you're not. And I said, I'm not. So I know he was very upset about me keeping Faith at that point in time.
And not because he cared about his baby.
My grandma had gotten very sick, and I decided to come home. And after that, I just kind of stayed here in New Mexico, because at that time we weren't getting along, and we were just like newlyweds, and that should have never happened. And but I saw things, like I said, that were just it wasn't right about him. So I moved home, and I did my whole pregnancy by myself. My friends back there in California, my neighbors right across the street, were actually calling me. I had one good friend, which is still a really good friend of mine to this day.
So this is when they're breaking up, okay? She's got friends from California where her and Chris lived calling her.
She called me and said, Nina, Christopher's getting rid of your furniture and getting rid of your stuff. And I was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, he's giving away like your little, your home decor stuff. Like he's giving away beds. And I was like,
beds?
No way. So this was about Easter time. So I had...
Wow. And plus it's Easter time. So I'm sure that was triggering, like just this being this time of year. Yeah, she does have great hair. She's very pretty, very pretty woman. Yeah, a lot of us can relate to these types of behaviors. Yep. What's up, Jody? Aloha. Right. KB says CP had said Sebastian had pretty bad outbursts when Chris first came into the picture. I can only imagine what he really did to him from a discipline standpoint. This isn't even the worst of it. It gets worse, guys.
Out there, I made a special trip. I asked my mom to go with me. And Isabella and Noah, they went with me. And I was still pregnant with Faith at the time. So I didn't tell him that we were going out there. So I kind of, wanted to see myself, because the neighbor also informed me that there was people at the house that shouldn't have been there. So I guess I kind of wanted to sneak up on him and see what he was doing, right?
Okay, so I wonder if the person that was not supposed to be there was Katie.
And we pulled up into the driveway, into the driveway, and he was coming out the front door with a bed that he was giving to the neighbor, which was my son's bed. And the look on his face was like a deer in headlights. Oh, wow. And he dropped the bed right there in the front yard, went back in the front door, slammed the door and locked it.
He's such a baby.
On my kids.
Chris Proudfoot, you are a freaking baby if you're listening to this. He needs some of those white high top baby toddler shoes, you know? These ones?
With them high top white shoes on, with the real hard bottom.
He needs a pair of those because he's a big baby, Chris Proudfoot.
I wanted out. And I had faith on my own. Christopher called the hospital. I told him on June 1st that I got admitted into the hospital. And Faith arrived like at June 2nd, like about 3 or 4 in the morning. And he kept calling the hospital and saying that my wife is in labor. She's there. But Christopher was just so rude and hateful and just, he wasn't even there. So then he arrived a couple days later after I had Faith. And he was, the doctors and the nurses there were on high alert due to the fact that they heard Christopher over the phone on how he was being disrespectful to the nurses that were on call that night.
So this asshole he's an asshole to everybody. It doesn't sound like Chris Proudfoot really picks and chooses who he's going to disrespect and be an asshole to. He's an asshole to the nurses. He's an asshole to the doctors. He's an asshole to his wife. He's an asshole to his stepkids. He's an asshole to his own kids. He's just an asshole.
As I was waiting to have her, and I asked that they not give him any more information.
Olive.
I had Faith. He arrived a couple days later, like I said. And you could just tell the look on his face, like he wasn't happy at all.
Has Chris Proudfoot ever been happy?
Didn't say, hey, you did a good job. Didn't say, I'm so happy that you brought my daughter into this world, like nothing. And I remember my sister was holding Faith, and she had to ask Chris, do you want to hold her? He said, I guess.
Wow. You hear this? He had to be asked to hold his own child. Chris Proudfoot, shame on you. Shame on you. And then he said, I guess. So, he couldn't congratulate her, make her feel, like a woman for going through this horrible labor and bringing this beautiful baby into the world. Sherry, this is the first time you've read about it. Okay. I have a lot of other videos too. So you can play a catch up with some of the videos I put out.
On one of the occasions, I can't recall what was happening, but he was raising his voice.
Big surprise.
And he was talking to me very disrespectful in front of one of the nurses. And she had told him, look, she just brought life into this world. She just got
how embarrassing.
Major surgery, and you're yelling at her, and I have a problem with that.
Good for the
She
nurse.
said, if you continue to do this, I'm going to have to tell social services to come down here, and I'm also going to have to ask you to leave the hospital and not return.
Y'all. So the nurses at the hospital when little Faith was born, you haven't missed much, Amber, When little Faith was born, the nurses at the hospital actually threatened to bring CPS in. That's got to be for more than yelling. That's got to be for more than yelling. They don't bring CPS in for a husband who yells. So Chris Proudfoot is a freaking liar because he said the only open case was for Sebastian. Flung. I mean, these people are possibly worse than the Wells and the Laundries combined with what they've done.
Because you're a liar.
The way they act, the outcome of this entire case. We have a boy who's been missing for 35 days. Wyatt, because he was trying to get custody. He was trying to get custody. So we know that CPS, let's take a step back for a minute. We know that CPS was called at the end of January by Sebastian's school because of something about Chris hitting him with a belt. Then we know that Chris Proudfoot disappeared from the home for the whole month of February until Sebastian was gone. That tells me that possibly Chris Proudfoot didn't stay away on the weekends because it was just too far to drive 3 hours. I think Chris Proudfoot wasn't allowed around Sebastian. And I feel like Chris Proudfoot really wanted to stick it to Nina so bad and take that baby. And he knew that if this CPS case continued with Sebastian, he would never, ever, ever get his daughter. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, Chris Proudfoot, if you're listening, I hope you never see that baby girl again.
So at that point in time, he kind of calmed down after he heard that. But unfortunately, that didn't last very long.
Never does.
He continued to do that. So social services at the hospital was
They actually
told to come down. And he was pretty much, she said, you can't do that here. And she was really concerned for my well-being at the time and also Faith's. Because, here is Christopher, dictating and telling me what I can and can't do and telling the nurses to do their job correctly and all these other things and raising his voice at me. And, they discharged all of us from the hospital. And he didn't want to stay at my parents' house because my mom and dad live in a trailer and he doesn't like that. It's a house, right? Still.
Okay, this guy is a prick. He didn't like that because her parents live in a trailer. Wow. So we've heard that he didn't allow hip hop either. Chris says, we don't allow that hip hop. The court date was in March. It was, I think, the Tuesday. I think she says it was the Tuesday after Sebastian went missing. It was supposed to be.
So he
What's up, Abe?
rented a room at Kirtland Air Force Base, and they had lodging there, which is like a house, old base housing, and we ended up getting one of those. And we stayed there for a while. I remember one night in particular where we all had went out and got something to eat to bring it back to the room. I had went into the restroom. I believe that's where I was at. And Faith was in her car seat. And my oldest daughter was in the living room with my son and Christopher. Well, anyways, I guess I wasn't moving fast enough for Christopher, but the baby started crying. Faith started crying. And
So this guy had a short fuse, even with his own newborn baby crying. Can you imagine the lack of patience that he had with Sebastian?
she's crying, and I'm trying to get to her as fast as I can. And when she was in the car seat, my oldest daughter at the time witnessed this with my 3-year-old son. When she was in the car seat, he ended up hitting the car seat against the wall. And he's getting upset because she's crying. And then when she was in her car seat, there was a coffee table right there, and he ended up tossing her on the coffee table with the car seat because he was so irate that she was crying. And I said, hey, what's your problem? I said, what are you doing? Like, she's a baby. She's going to cry. I wish I would have just... I wish I would have never met him.
Thank you, Meg P.
Coming in hot.
So let me back up. So before he left back to San Diego, Faith ended up going back into the NICU. She ended up getting jaundice, and she went back to the NICU. So she was in the NICU, I want to say, for a week to a week and a half. And that was when Kathy, Chris's mother, came out, flew down with her brother.
So Kathy is remarried. Thank you so much, Meg P. Kathy is remarried. I'm going to show you a picture of Kathy as we go through this. We'll introduce you a little bit to the Proudfoot / Bowersox family. Maybe I don't have Kathy. Maybe this is Kathy, I think, is the bio mom. Okay, I don't have Kathy. I have his dad and his wife. So these are the freaking Play-Doh-lipped Proudfoots. This is Mr. Proudfoot and his wife. I don't know her name. And then we have Bowersox. So is it Terry Bowersox is his real mother? Kathy is the stepmother? Is this Kathy? I know I'm confused. Let me know in chat. What's up, Terry Lynn? Terry Lynn, how are you even awake? Terry Lynn. Y'all, check out Terry Lynn's channel. She's rocking this case hard. We're going to be live again tonight at 10 o'clock, Terry Lynn. If you want to call in and talk. Terry and Kathy Bowersox. She's here to give us the facts. Terry and Kathy Bowersox. That's the bio mom. This is his real. This on the screen. This is Michael and Linda Proudfoot on the screen. Bowersox. It's like it's like laundry. It's like the laundries. Like, who's named Laundry? Who's named Proudfoot? Loudfoot. But so this is bio dad and stepmother. And Nina is talking about Kathy. You're searching right now, Terry? Y'all, you need to subscribe to Terry because she's putting out. I really liked the video you put out of the dogs hitting on that spot, Terry. You guys need to check out Terry Lynn. Thank you, Shell, for putting her link up.
Duran guy, or they call him Big D. They came down.
Big D.
And she was in the NICU.
Is Big D? Who's Big D? The stepdad? in Biomom? Who the hell's Big D?
And that was when Kathy, Chris's mother, came out, flew down with her brother.
Oh, the brothers?
Duran, guy,
Big D.
They call him Big D. They came down, and she was in the NICU. And that was when I felt like a plan was made, because
this is scary.
like I said, our marriages it was on the rocks. And one of my neighbors had told me in San Diego, they had warned me. They had said, Nina, be careful, because Christopher is coming up with a plan with his mother. And they're planning on taking the baby away from you. And I was like, what? Like, thinking to myself, it can't be true from somebody that's supposed to love you, right? Like somebody that you're supposed to share your life with. Like, why would he want to take the baby away from me? And she warned me. But I was like, no, why would they do that? Then his mom came up with an idea. She goes, well, since you guys, will be moving to Hendersonville. And I was like, we kind of, I felt like, okay, well, maybe.
She's like, I don't think so. I don't want to move to Hendersonville. Here comes the isolation part again.
It's like, well, you'll get help. You're going to get help from my family. And, but I was already getting help here from my parents, with my other two children that they helped me raise. So that I went along with it. Like I said earlier, even though I knew it was wrong to go, I still went, hoping that my marriage would work out. So she ended up taking Faith, although I was against it. Kathy Bowers-Hawks and
man,
her brother Duran ended up taking Faith. And my mom and dad were like, my mom started crying, and she goes, why are you letting them take the baby? And I said, because Christopher said that it's going to be too hard for her to travel, to travel. Oh, I'm sorry. They went back. So Kathy and Big D went back to Tennessee. So 2 weeks later, about 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, Kathy ended up coming back by herself. I do apologize. She came back by herself to pick up Faith. She was here in Albuquerque for one night, and I was, even though I was against it, I let her go with Kathy. Because Christopher said it was going to be too hard to travel with her being.
So I believe her, because she's really admitting the mistakes that she made. She's admitting that she went against her better judgment. Those are the people following the people around, I believe. Chris's dad and stepmom are the ones following around, I think. Terry, is that who's following y'all around? Do you know who's following you around? Thanks, Candy. You're pretty cool yourself.
A new baby. So he came out from San Diego, rented a U-Haul, packed all our stuff, and we pretty much left. And that's how I ended up in Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's when my whole life changed. That's when
I agree,
my nightmare happened. We lived with his mother and his stepfather, Terry, for about a good month. Because our apartment wasn't going to be ready until the end of August, about the end of August. So it was really uncomfortable living there. Terry and Kathy would always bicker at each other, and she'd be bickering with Christopher, and, my kids were a problem, an issue. It was always something. I felt really uncomfortable, and I wanted to come home. I just wanted to come home to everything that I knew. I wanted my mom and my dad, even though I was a grown woman. I needed that.
Isolated with the Proudfoots.
I always felt like we were the outcast. Never felt accepted.
Can you imagine how they talked to her if he was making comments about her parents living in a trailer? Like, F you, Chris Proudfoot. Chris Proudfoot could live in a mansion and still look like a big fat turd.
By the Proudfoots or the Bowersocks. On one occasion, Christopher was cutting my oldest daughter's nails, and she didn't want her nails cut. And Christopher, grabbed a hold of her hand, and she pulled her hand away. And my daughter at the time had braces.
It gets bad, guys. This guy's a prick.
He backhand Isabel in the face and busted her whole lip open.
Y'all, he busted a little girl's lip open, backhanded her in the mouth with braces because she didn't want her nails cut. You want to talk about extreme, Joel? That is what's extreme about this story.
I should have left, but I didn't. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't be here. I can't, I don't want to be here anymore. He settled us in, got a storage unit of what couldn't fit in the apartment. He got everything ready, all right? Him and his family. As soon as he knew that we were comfortable, he left back to San Diego. But the night prior to him leaving, he had got a phone call or text message that night, and it said something like, hey baby, or
cheating,
around something like that, saying that when is your flight coming in?
Cheater.
And I was like, what? Like, who's texting him? So I did confront him. And like he said on one of the podcasts is that I did slap him. Yes, I did slap him across the face.
She admits what she's done.
Who's he talking to at this time? At that point in time, Christopher, we were still communicating. And like I said, our relationship.
So he moved her out to Hendersonville, Tennessee, and then was going to go back to California? I'd be like, fuck you, dude. I'm going to live in New Mexico if your ass is going back to California. I'm not living here with your parents. This guy's a piece of work, man, and that's putting it lightly.
Our marriage was on the rocks. So my oldest daughter had gotten sick, and she has upper respiratory issues. So I took her to the emergency room in Hendersonville, and that's when Hendersonville transferred her to Vanderbilt. Is that what I believe that hospital's name is? And I was kind of frantic because I was like, well, what am I going to do with my 3-year-old son and with the baby? Like, who's going to help me? So I was, I called Chris and I told him, I said, can your mom watch, Faith, or can somebody help me? Everybody was so quick to help me at that point in time. So Faith stayed with Kathy and Noah Bryce went with his sister, Melissa. And I went with my oldest daughter. We got transported downtown. And so we stayed there. I can't recall how many days we were there. I get back to the apartment complex and I pulled into the parking lot and I see Melissa just pulled in right next to me. It seems like they were already there waiting for me to get there. And then she said, I can't stay. I would love to stay, but I can't stay because I don't know what they were doing. And she just, my son gets out of her van. And then we walk inside and I was waiting, for Faith to get there. And we weren't there but less than maybe 5 minutes. and I hear a knock at the door. And I was like, oh, great, Faith is home.
This is so scary.
And it was Kathy's friend, Patty, that's an attorney. And she said, called me.
Okay, so did you hear that? Kathy's friend is the lawyer. Kathy's friend is a lawyer. Is she the one giving the Proudfoot's, the proud athlete's foot's advice? No one will bash Nina here, I can tell you that. We are not like that. We don't put up with nothing here.
By my real name, Gomez. And I was like, yeah. And she said, you've been served.
Unbelievable.
She said, you have a protection order against you.
The only people
You can't see.
The only people that are probably bashing her are the Proudfoots and the Stank Bauer socks. The Stankfoots and the Bowers and the socks and feet. The two worst things in the world. And the two dirtiest, stankiest things in the world are socks and feet.
Real name, Gomez. And I was like,
I'm going to go.
Yeah. And she said, you've been served. She said, you have a protection order against you. You can't see Faith. And Chris is filing for divorce. I get my kids in the truck and I go to the Gallatin police department, and I was ringing the call button. And like finally 30 minutes later, somebody shows up and I told them what happened and I showed them the paper and they said, yep, we can't help you.
Kristen, hi, Kristen.
All I can think about is my baby. Like, how am I going to get my baby back? Like, why is this happening to me? So I go to Kathy's house and I knock on the door. And I remember I had Christopher's stepmom, Linda, on the phone with me. She was on speakerphone.
Oh, there's
Linda.
Linda.
What's going on?
There's Linda.
Little did I know everybody was in on this. And Terry answered the door. Which is Chris's stepfather.
This.
And he told me that I need to get off of his fucking property. And here little Noah, who's 3 years old, and my Isabella's 7. And they're standing behind me. And I said, please tell me what's going on. I said, where's Faith? I said, please give me my baby back. And he told me, get off my fucking property.
These people
and he took
assholes.
out a green and black baseball bat. And he told me to fucking leave or he's gonna bash me and my kids' heads.
Oh my God.
I couldn't get the words out. And finally he said, calm down. Please calm down and tell me what happened. And I told him, I said, Daddy, they did my baby.
La, 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 la. You don't hold a count.
Thanks for subscribing, Mary.
I've been saving money through this whole entire time, but I've been using it since we were out there so I can help support my kids and myself. But little did I know that Christopher wanted me to use all my money because he didn't want me to have anything so I wouldn't retain a lawyer. Well, I need to get a lawyer. Who can I get?
He knew that her family didn't have a lot of money to fight him, right? Because they live in a trailer. They're not going to fight me. Hi, Mike Sanner.
Thank God for Mr. Edwards. I told him the situation. And he was in shock. And he goes, my God. He goes, this all happened? Like, you should have never came out here. And I said, I know. I should have never, came out here. And I said, please, sir, I would do anything just for my baby back. He said, you're all I have. Please help me. Went to, everything happened in Gallatin Courthouse. My parents were there. We went to the first trial, and I remember walking in the courthouse and my stomach was turning.
She has
hadn't
3
seen my
children
baby.
from a previous, I think, right? Is it 3?
And they had my baby there. Just in arm's reach, and I couldn't even hold her, and I couldn't even kiss her, and I couldn't even tell her I love her. All I had was my dad in there.
2 others? 3 with Faith.
And their side, all the benches filled up with his family being loud and laughing.
Oh,
and it was just my daddy and me and Mr. Edwards.
Mm.
And I remember the judge, his attorney, just everybody in there. All the hurtful things that they put on black and white about me. Just the eyes glaring at me and making it seem like I was a bad person. The pain that Christopher and his family has brought to my family is pain that we'll never forget. Pain that we live with every single day of our lives. And I remember that very clear.
Pussyfoot!
At this point in time, my mom was going to testify against Christopher. My daughter was going to testify against Christopher.
You hear that? Her daughter was going to testify against Christopher. Was Sebastian going to testify against Christopher?
My daughter was going to testify against Christopher. And they had said, his lawyer at the time had said, don't let her daughter testify. And so we went without it, nobody testifying that day. Christopher had ended up getting, he was talking at the time. Judge was asking him all kinds of questions. And he made me look like a monster. He made me look like I was the problem.
Mm.
He made me feel awful about myself and saying all these things in front of these people that weren't even true. It wasn't even true. I remember we needed to break and come back. And Mr. Edwards at that point in time went into the chambers with the judge. And I don't know what was being said, being done back there, but he was in there for a while. And he ended up coming back out. Court was back in session. Everything was, we were going back and forth again. And at some point in time, the judge just had enough. The judge was done hearing everything that had happened. And Christopher, was speaking, and the judge just said, that's enough. Like, I don't want to even hear what you have to say anymore. He's like,
The judge said, I don't want to hear what you have to say anymore. Can you imagine how mad Stankfoot was? They are still fighting in court. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. He couldn't let Sebastian tell his story, could he? Because he would never win against Nina. He would never win against Nina if Sebastian told his story. about abuse. And if Chris Stankfoot was this mean to a 3-year-old, yo, whoa. He in Jammers nailed it. Dominate, isolate, control.
Premeditated this. This was premeditated. You knew exactly what you and your family were doing.
Called out.
You brought this woman out here with her children, and you guys knew exactly what you were doing.
They should have went to jail.
And he said,
they should have went to jail for kidnapping.
Gallatin's Sheriff's Department, that's where the exchange is going to happen. My heart. My heart just dropped, like, and my attorney looks at me and he said, you just won. You won. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit my knees, and all I could think about is, I couldn't wait to wrap my arms around my baby again. Hysterical on his side, of course, and my daughter and my mom are waiting out there, and I remember his uncle going out there, and he swung open the door, and he was so angry, and my daughter overheard him say, she won, she won. And I remember my dad was still sitting behind me, and and he had tears in his eyes, and he's like, let's go. And my attorney followed me outside, and we went out, and there was just so much chaos coming from the Proudfoots. And
oh, I'm sure.
We went outside very humbly, and he took us in back of the courthouse the other way. And right there and then I hit my knees. I finally could be relieved. A big, oh my God, we did this. So we went to the Sheriff's Department. And we showed up, and I remember I told my dad, I said, wait here. I said, stay at that Wendy's. So my dad stayed at that Wendy's waiting for me, and he said, okay. He's like, you call me when you're on your way so I can follow you out, okay? And I said, okay, Dad. We got to the Sheriff's Department. Christopher and his Michael, Linda, Kathy, Big D, Melissa.
The whole clan.
His whole entire family was there.
Okay, wait.
So then,
let's talk about Melissa. Melissa Proudfoot is Christopher's sister. Melissa Proudfoot was there. She's talking about Melissa being there. Melissa Proudfoot was also one of the last people to see Sebastian alive. Melissa Proudfoot has some questions to answer, I think.
The exchange was happening. And they live streamed me on Facebook.
Oh, thanks, BD. They said I can't believe. They live streamed her on Facebook. They're all about humiliation and bullying. The Proudfoots are not good people.
The judge awarded her custody. And I was just standing there, I remember, and I said, can I have my baby back, please? And I remember his mother had her phone in her hand, or his mother, yes, and she had a brown paper sack full of diapers and a dirty bottle. And she threw it at me, and she said, I think you're going to need this,
what
laughing.
A bitch.
Then I said, thank you.
Mm-hmm. It is, Ave.
And my 2 younger children were sitting in the back. And then
listen to this, Melissa.
I said, okay, can I have Faith back now?
Here's Melissa.
So I forget if it was Kathy or Chris, but they tossed her at me, and I caught her. And I said, thank you. I got inside of my driver's seat of my truck. And everybody was still filming, live streaming me on Facebook. And Melissa Proudfoot had said, "Why don't you put it in reverse and drive over her?"
I've chills.
And I told my kids, I said, "Get out. I'm trying to get Faith out again." And I told my kids, and I remember he put the truck in reverse. And I told my kids, I said, "Get out." I said, "Jump, get out." And I remember them getting out as fast as they could. And we're running into the sheriff's department, and I had Faith. And then finally, he came in, Christopher, behind me. And they finally opened the door. And they put me in a back room with my kids. They turned the lights off on us. In the process of me calling my attorney to tell him what was going on, Kathy disconnected my cell phone.
Kathy again.
And I remember Mr. Edwards calling the police department and telling them they need to let me go. And at the time, Christopher was still in the military. And Mr. Edwards, I remember them telling him, she needs to go, because this could possibly cause Mr. Proudfoot his career. So at that point in time, I got escorted outside by a couple of sheriffs that were there. They seemed like they knew each other, all of them, the Proudfoots. And I remember Christopher had it.
So the Proudfoots know people in the sheriff's department. Is that so? Who thinks the Proudfoots might be trying to throw monkey wrenches in the searches for Sebastian? Why did the Proudfoots go to frickin' Alaska within days of Sebastian going missing in an RV? Why, Proudfoots? If you are so proud, why are you hiding, Proudfoots?
Asked one of the sheriffs if he could say goodbye to Faith, and I said, absolutely not. I got the kids in, and I called my dad, and I told him what happened. And he was so mad. He goes, he was lucky I wasn't there. I'd have knocked the shit out of him.
Good for her, Dad.
So I said, all right, Dad, I'm coming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody followed me down the interstate. My dad and I were weaving in and out of traffic, trying to lose them. The whole family were following me and Dad about 80, 90 miles an hour. We were going down the interstate just to get away from them. We drove all day. Chris kept calling, and I avoided him like a plague. Because the judge in Tennessee awarded me custody. He had no jurisdiction over Faith or myself or my other two children. And at the time of all this, they brought CPS involved in that case over there. So we get home here, not even a couple days goes by. He ended up calling CPS on us here.
Oh my God. Okay, so wait, we got to get out those toddler shoes again for Chris. He lost the court case, so he put on his toddler shoes.
Babies with them high top white shoes on, with the real hard bottom.
Yeah, so he put those shoes on and then called CPS on her. I'm sure by that time she got her own phone, right? Cray. Yeah, he was a pencil pusher in the Navy. He was a clerk.
And using CPS against me every chance that he got. Showing up to my kids' at school. Scaring my kids. Just like he did in Tennessee.
He's a bully.
So I filed for divorce here, which I should have filed on tribal land at the time. Because I wouldn't be going through this. The divorce happened, but it dragged on and on and on because Christopher made a big deal about absolutely everything. I had to ask for permission to leave Bernalillo County. I had to tell him what I was doing, and if I left New Mexico, he had to know. He really never wanted Faith to be Native American. Christopher knew that I was Mexican American and also Native American, but he hated the fact that, and he still hates the fact that Faith is part Native American. So,
well, you know what? He's an asshole. So he's a racist. He's an abuser. He's a woman abuser. He's a child abuser. He has to go on dating sites and he clings on to women quickly. What else? Control freak. He strikes me as insecure and jealous of law enforcement and military men with higher rank. Oh my God, teacup cracking. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. He's total little man syndrome, and so is his dad. Oh, we don't do hip hop. We don't do hip hop. No, what you wanted to say is we don't do black people. I mean, let's be real, Chris Proudfoot. And then he has sex with someone who's Native American and Mexican American. And then he's mad because of his child's heritage. Harper Day, child abuser, ? I don't know what you mean. Clarify, elaborate. Mr. Chris. Yeah. Proudfoot is not Native American. I don't know what it is. It's Scottish. Thank you, Teacup. Oh, yeah, he just gave him one lick on the buttocks with his clothes on. Because why would you even say with his clothes on? Unless the clothes weren't on. General Proudfoot. Oh my God. They have family name of General. That is insane. That's why he wanted her to have an abortion. Zoot. Thank you, Jay. I've been wanting to ask where all the black people are. I guess I knew deep down. Thank you. Mm-hmm. We don't do hip hop. Flung. Didn't Chris say something along the lines that this case should be studied? Mm-hmm. He sure did. He sure did. Yeah, he backhanded a child in the mouth. Yeah. You wouldn't say it, oh, I did it over the clothes, if you did it, if there wasn't clothes on the butt. You know what I'm saying? The guy gives himself away. Proudfoot, you ain't that smart. Chris Proudfoot's family member is a funeral director in Balmer. Proudfoot's mom reached out to him for help. Proof, just a bird. Bauer socks, Proudfoot, and Sebastian had no shoes. I know. Don't think I didn't think of that, Keister Bunny. Oh, Diddy. Diddy would love some Proudfoot. Yes, he would.
Everything.
Chris in his big diesel truck. My Chevy Silverado.
It would take me back.
And I just gave him one lick.
For just everything. It wasn't a good divorce. And the parenting plans, it had to be his way or nobody's way. He had to have the last word, and this is what he wanted, and his attorney made sure that's exactly what he got. I can't even recall how many hearings I went to with Christopher. It's been horrible. So at this point in time, I didn't really agree to the parenting plan. I didn't like it, but I signed it anyways, just because I wanted it to be over with. The divorce was finally final. And he was still stationed, I believe, in San Diego at this point in time. He was, if I'm correct, he was already living with Katie when we were still married. We were going through the divorce, but he had moved in with her.
So Katie Katie files this crazy thing against Seth in 2016, which I'm not even going to go into because I don't trust Katie. So Katie files this crazy filing against Seth, accusing him of all this shit that Pussyfoot does, right? So she accuses him of doing all this crazy shit, being abusive, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I don't know what's true, what's not. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is, I can't remember what I was going to say. Damn it. Katie seemed innocent to you? Her Mona Lisa looking ass? Mm-mm.
And he was still stationed, I believe, in San Diego at this point in time.
Maybe it'll come back to me.
He was, if I'm correct.
Oh, yeah.
He was already living with.
Okay, so then she files this thing in 2016 against Seth. And she's moving in with Chris, right? They're both leaving behind their spouses. She's got Sebastian. He's got Faith. So these two devils moved in together before both of their divorces were final. Thank you, Otlip.
Katie, when we were still married. We were going through the divorce, but he had moved in with her. And I was pretty surprised how fast he moved on with his life. Like we never mattered. Like Faith was, like, he never had a family. But I should have known that as well prior to the marriages before me, like how he just moved on so quickly with his life.
He had 5 marriages, this dude. 5 marriages.
I finally moved on with my life. But Christopher had made a statement the other night on one of the interviews, the podcasts that he was doing. And I didn't like the way he said this. You know, how he didn't, he called moved in with a man. Like, he knows this person's name. And he deserves to be called his name, not the man. And remind you, I've known Wayne for over 3.5 years. He was my client before we even got exclusive, like being in a relationship, before we even moved in together. He knew I had children. I mean, just, so for him to sit there and say that, he basically made it sound like he didn't know this person. He does. Faith is 6. I'm still living in this nightmare that he's created. We live in fear every single day. We're constantly watching over our backs. My kids don't even know what a normal childhood should feel like, because they were exposed to all this at a very young age. The awful things that other people could do. My oldest daughter said it best. She said, "Mom, I feel like I was robbed of my childhood because of Chris. Because of everything that he's done. We're still going to court. He still complains about everything when it's not his way. He used Child Protective Service on me because of the divorce, to get my children taken away from me. He has a friend that works at Albuquerque Police Department as well. I don't know if he still keeps in contact with him.
I'm not sure what she does for a living. Are you talking about her or Katie? Yeah, I don't think that is recent, Austin. I think that's an old picture too, because her face looks way fuller too, and her hair looks different. Her hair color is different. Dr. Quinn Harley, he probably doesn't say his name because Sebastian's... I think he doesn't say his name because he's guilty of something. I think that that's possible, Wyatt. I really do. I think that it's weird that his parents left for Alaska, of all places, and driving there. I want to know more about that.
I believe so.
Exactly.
He was told to do a welfare check on us one night. But he didn't take the call, probably because he knew both of us. He's been filing for full custody, Christopher, for about 1 year to 2 years now, if I recall. A lot of this stuff is just, it doesn't make sense to me. He's made a mess. He tells people that I'm unstable,
Of course he does.
that I need a psychiatric evaluation, that I'm, that I'm pretty much crazy. It's been a nightmare. Why he's pushing for full custody is because I moved Faith out of Bosque Farms Elementary to a Native American academy in Albuquerque, where my youngest son goes and my oldest daughter goes down the street to a high school, and it's a minute away. So I was trying to make the commute easier for all of us. All my kids are in curricular activities. My son's in football. My Faith cheers for her brother's Yaffle football team. So practice. My two older girls are in Mexican folk dancing. Faith and her older sister are in Mexican folk dancing.
I love it. Her Faith is in Mexican folk dancing. You go, girl.
My children are in 4-H. So my kids are super busy, and I work in the city as well. So trying to make my life easier, I decided to put her there. And he did not like that, him and his attorney. So they're pushing for full custody about that. And on top of that, we were supposed to go to trial March 5th, I believe it was. March 5th. And the first one, March 5th.
Okay, so let's listen to these dates. This is important. Sebastian went missing February 26th. Yeah, you can go up to Alaska through somewhere. Is it? I don't know. I can't remember where they go up. They didn't fly, though, I guess. Is Melissa the one who drove? No, I don't know, Crazy Crystal. I don't know anything about what they've done with that.
4-H. So my kids are super busy, and I work in the city as well. So trying to make my life easier, I decided to put her there. And he did not like that, him and his attorney. So they're pushing for full custody about that. And on top of that, we were supposed to go to trial March 5th, I believe it was.
March 5th.
March 5th. And the first one, March 5th. I went to court January 2nd of 2024.
Tomorrow morning, thank you so much, Island. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., this is new news. There is a press conference scheduled for 11 a.m. tomorrow. We will be streaming that live, so make sure you are subscribed. It says the Sumner County Sheriff's Office will be providing an update in the search for missing teen Sebastian Rogers on Tuesday morning. As of Monday afternoon, the Sheriff's Office provided no update in the search, and he has been missing since February 26th. So I don't know what this press conference is going to tell us, but we will be live 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, guys. Save the date.
Continuing cases, I had to pay for his attorney fees because I pulled Faith out of Bosque Farms. Although I contacted him through email, he never replied to me. I contacted my lawyer at the time. He never replied to me. So what was I supposed to do? I had to do what was in best interest for Faith and everybody else. So I ended up paying the legal fee for Christopher because his lawyer complained about that. So then we went to trial. We got a date for trial. It's like back and forth. It's like a game to Christopher with Faith. Christopher dangles Faith over my head as if she's like some kind of toy to be played with. She's not a toy. She's a little girl that has feelings and strong feelings. We can't help the fact that Christopher decided to move to Tennessee. He chose that for himself. I've never known of a person that lives in a whole different state and still dictates what you can and can't do to the other parent. He had a choice to live here. He was actually told to move here by the judge. But he lives in Tennessee. He tells me pretty much what I can and can't do still to this day by that court order. You get a call. And at this point in time, I'm not talking to Christopher. We don't, I want to make that loud and clear. We do not have a good co-parenting relationship. We don't talk on a regular basis.
That's not surprising,
I refuse to talk to Christopher because everything has to be his way. I don't entertain any of his conversations. In the past, when I used to, and I thought that a relationship between him and I, and we're learning how to co-parent and it's good, it backfired. It kicked me in my ass. Everything that I told, he used against me in court all the time. Every single thing. So I had to learn not to trust him. I've had to, I don't talk to him. So for him to say on some of his podcasts is that we have good,
Rapport.
parenting skills, or we know how to talk.
He's
we
a
don't know how to
liar.
talk to each other.
We know that.
I refuse to communicate with this man. He calls me.
You're a liar.
That Wednesday. And he's like, and I was like, oh, great. He's calling. So I just went straight to voicemail.
Wait, hold on.
And then
He calls that Wednesday after Sebastian goes missing. She's talking about. Let me slow this down a little bit.
he had said
Oh, no,
911.
not that. Shit. Oh, well, I'm going to have to keep it there. Okay.
Call me. So then I was like, well, it must be emergency. So let me call him. I called him and I said, what's up, Chris? And he was like, he's like, Nina, I got to tell you something. And he tells me that Sebastian went missing. And I was speechless. I have to say I was speechless. And then I went into saying, well, what happened? Like, how did he go missing? Like, what happened? And he said, well, he went missing between 12:30 and 6 a.m. And I'm like, and I said, don't you have security cameras, Christopher? I said, you have security cameras in your house. Don't you? And he paused. He didn't say anything. What happened to your dogs? I said, don't your dogs? They said, you have those Yorkies and I said, every time that I call Faith, they said they're barking.
Every time I call Faith, they're barking.
He didn't say nothing. I said, are you lying to me? I said, because thinking in my head, like, are you just buying more time for this trial that's coming up? We still have a trial, I said, at 8:30 next Tuesday. And he had raised his voice at me and he said, we're not going. And I was like, don't raise your voice at me. You're not going to disrespect me like that. You're not going to raise your voice at me. So then I said, by law, I said, I have to contact my attorney. And I said, I'm going to email him as soon as I get off the phone with you. And I'm going to tell him that there's a missing child. Can you send me like a flyer? Can you send me something? I said, I could put it on my social media and it'll take off. He never sent me anything.
She asked for a flyer, said, I'll help. He never sent anything.
He was so worried about his phone and he had said something. He's like, the fucking cops had my phone and I had to call Faith and I told him I had to fucking call my daughter. And I said, Christopher, I said, you need to calm down. I said, Faith is fine. She's with me. I'm her mother. I said, she was with her family here. I said, you don't need to worry about her. You don't need to worry about her whatsoever. And, and he wanted to say more and he repeated himself again and he said, I need to be honest with you. And I was like, Christopher, I don't have time for this. I said, I just don't. I said, I gotta go. I keep kind of beating myself up. Maybe I should have stayed on the phone a little bit longer. Maybe I should have let him talk. But with the experiences that I've had with Christopher in the past, I just couldn't trust him. I contacted my attorney the next day and I told him what was going on with Sebastian. The more and more days that had passed by, the more and more that I got, like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like, and the things that didn't make sense to me was why Christopher and Katie aren't looking for Sebastian. I don't know how somebody could just sit at home and just wait for your baby to return. And I'd be out there looking every single second. I'd be out there by horseback. I'd be out there by a golf cart, by whatever I can get my hands on to get into the forest and look, or wherever in these neighborhoods, wherever I could possibly go. All I could think about is the time that happened to me when they took Faith from me. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even drink water. I lost so much weight, and I knew where my baby was at. And this hits home for us because of Faith. Faith's known Sebastian pretty much half of her life, or her whole entire life. And Faith talks about Sebastian, and I think I'm gonna find him.
Poor Faith.
And I tell her, yeah. I've talked to Seth on a parent-to-parent level. And we talked about some things that, we shed some tears together, and just the pain in his voice. It hurts.
So also it's important to note that Seth had no idea that there was a CPS case with Sebastian and Chris. He was never informed. So CPS dropped the ball.
Jumped on that bandwagon, or that Christopher and everybody else was on. Just like this past December 27th. Faith was going out to Hendersonville to see her family for the holidays.
Welcome, Twyla.
We drove her to the airport. We were all happy. There's Katie standing there recording everything like she always does. And I hug my baby tight. I tell her I love her. Somebody that Christopher, Katie, and his lawyer hired, his name is Michael Tinker.
Oh, Michael.
He served me with paper.
Michael Tinker sounds like someone that the Proudfoots would associate with. Michael Tinker then serves her again. They do it all over again to her.
December 27th.
This is just this past December.
Going out to Hendersonville to see her family for the holidays.
So December 27th of 2023, Faith is coming out to Tennessee to spend the holidays with the Sockfoots.
We drove her to the airport. We were all happy. There's Katie standing there recording everything like she always does. And I hug my baby tight. I tell her I love her. Somebody that Christopher, Katie.
So Katie, Miss Mona Lisa, Katie, I am a robot. She freaking is recording this whole thing. What's up, citizen? Salute thee. Yay, you got that Monday out of the way. I hope no one played any bad April Fool jokes on you guys today.
And his lawyer hired, his name is Michael Tinker. He served me with paper.
Tinkerfoot.
He tapped on my window, and I just rolled it down. And he said, "Are you so-and-so Gomez?" I said, "Yes." "Why?" He said, "Because you've been served." And the first thing I thought of was, they're going to take Faith. I got out of that truck so fast and I ran into the airport. Katie and Faith were standing at the Southwest counter, and I told them, I said, "She's going to kidnap my baby." I grabbed Faith on the left side of her hand and I ran with her through the airport. And all I could think about is, I got to get back to the truck. And here comes Wayne, Noah, and Isabel running through the airport. Oh my God, my mom, like, first thing she thought of was like, and Wayne thought was like, oh my God, Nina's going to just lay her out. First thing she thought of was like, and Wayne thought was like, oh my God, Nina's going to just lay her out. I ran by, and Katie was coming right up behind me, and the guy, Michael Tinker, he stood there trying to flag me down and still trying to serve me with paperwork. In that moment, I'm just thinking about, they're going to take my baby and I'm never going to see her again. Officer Cordova had showed up and was talking about asking questions like what was happening, and asked if I had a parenting plan on hand. And I'm like, wait, I was just supposed to carry my parenting plan? But I said, why am I being served? And still at this point, Michael Tinker was still trying to give me my paperwork and I wouldn't take it. So he got very upset, lifted up the windshield wipers and threw the paperwork right under there. Kids are crying. I'm crying hysterically.
Unbelievable. These people, that's it for Nina. As if that wasn't enough. Props to Nina for her speaking up. And I don't look at Katie Proudfoot as a victim at all. Absolutely not. Mm-mm. She is. She fits right in. It took him 5 tries. It took him 5 tries, but he finally found his evil match. The Sockfoots. Feels like Proudfoots or Sockfoots are involved with organized criminals and many connections. Maybe. I don't know. They're up to something, man. They're up to something. Wyatt, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see all of you new chatters. Welcome, welcome. I hope that you guys will join us tonight. So if you're not a member and you're not a Patreon, you can still become one right now and join us in Discord tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a very, very special live. I can barely even stand it. I'm not good at keeping secrets, but tonight I will be sharing a secret. So join me at 9 p.m. and then we will be live here on the tubes at 10 if we don't see you there. And you'll find out what the watch party was all about. So that is where we are, guys. If you haven't hit that like button, hit it now. That little like. This is like the Proudfoot, like the little thumb, man. Ugh. So I'll see you guys tonight, 10 p.m. We're going to have an open discussion. Open discussion on this case. I hope you will join us. Share this out on your socials. Let's keep Sebastian in the limelight. And hopefully we get some news tomorrow morning as well. And we got some merch available in the merch site if you want to check it out. I'll see you. I'll see you guys later. I never know when to shut the hell up. So sometimes you guys just have to say, like Elaine does, you know, just.
I am here to help you learn.
Shut up, man.
Said, shut the fuck up. Sometimes you just got to say, shut the fuck up. Is it on the YouTube? So I will be on YouTube at 10. I'm going to be in my Discord doing a watch party with my members and Patreons at 9. So after we finish that, we're going to be over here on the tubes and we'll be back all together. Together, naturally. Bye, guys. Let's roll our credits and our outro, and then you guys can dance this motherfucker out.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together.
Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems.
Shut the fuck up.
Give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough. Stand up. About you and your problems. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. 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 I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. 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 I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, no Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool.
Bring it all in.
You
want one Jennifer or two Jennifers?
Jennifer loves horses. Why were you telling her not to fuck herself?
You want one Jennifer or two?
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Bye, Jennifer.